In tonight's episode, things are a little off down at the ranch. Welcome to Urban Legends. Southeast of Ballard in Utah, lies Sherman Ranch, a property that covers 512 acres. The ranch is widely known not for the cattle it raises, but instead for its vast amount of UFO sightings and paranormal activity. The locals call it Skinwalker Ranch. In 1994, Terry and Gwen Sherman purchased the ranch with their 2 children to raise cattle and live a quiet life. Unfortunately, that is not what happened. Straight away, there were oddities surrounding it. Written permission from the previous owner was needed if the Shermans wanted to dig anywhere within the ranch, and the house came fortified. There were bars on the windows and the doors that heavy chains connected to them. It was only a few days later that the first incident happened. One afternoon while attending to the cows, Terry and his son spotted a large wolf approaching them. Its body language was not aggressive, however, as it slowly came closer. It got so close that the creature let them stroke it, and they believed it to be somebody's pet. Its size was unusual, reaching the chest of Terry, who was 6 feet tall and an experienced outdoorsman. The demeanor of the wolf quickly changed as a calf poked its head out of its enclosure and the predator lunged. Terry and his son repeatedly hit the wolf, but it was pointless given its size and strength. Terry then shot at the animal with a .357 Magnum, which seemed to have no effect, so he shot it again and then a third time, which made the creature leave, but it still did not seem injured or even concerned. Terry collected a rifle that he used for elk hunting, and fired again, hitting the animal once more. They went after it, but after a few hundred meters, the tracks mysteriously stopped, which made no sense. Over the next few weeks, many large canines were seen, and they seemed to bring with them a sense of dread that the family had not experienced before. But soon, they vanished, and were replaced by something much stranger. The Shermans began to see the lights. Usually in the evenings, they would see different colored lights that initially were believed to be trespassers in a truck, until the lights disappeared into the sky. These often happened in the same locations around the ranch. The family were also visited by strange orbs, around the size of a basketball, floating around the property, close to the house. These shapes emitted a low humming sound and there appeared to be a gel-like substance inside of them. Although not particularly threatening, these also filled the family with a sense of dread and oppression. The Shermans were deeply disturbed by what they were seeing, and Terry's equipment was starting to go missing. Many times being found far away, or even in trees. They decided to ask around and see if anybody knew what was going on. What they discovered was alarming. On the neighboring ranches, the owners said that they had experienced the same phenomena, to a lesser extent. The local Native American tribe, the Utes, regarded the area of Skinwalker Ridge as dangerous and cursed. The Sherman's ranch was located on the northern part of that land. Skinwalkers are a menacing and evil entity in Native American folklore, and are not fully understood outside of their tribes. Terry would often watch a particularly large orange light at night, always in the same place. One evening, there was a hole in it, and he could see clear blue sky through the hole. Even though it was nighttime, 3 flying objects flew out of the orange glow, through the hole, and it closed. In the winter that followed, these objects began to take interest in his cattle. One morning, Terry noticed that one of his cows was missing. He found some tracks, leading into a thicket, but then they suddenly stopped, just like with the wolf. This became a frequent occurrence, but sometimes he would find the cow's body, with parts removed with surgical precision. When this happened, the body would decay much slower than normal. Every time the cattle either went missing, or was dismembered, the lights would be seen beforehand. After Terry's 3 dogs disappeared, Only to be found as piles of ashes the next day, he decided that enough is enough. Terry put his ranch up for sale and also went to a local newspaper to report what had happened there. Interestingly enough, a billionaire named Robert Bigelow, who had a huge interest in the paranormal, read the report and purchased the ranch and set up his own scientific team there. Unlike Bigelow, the people he hired had no interest in the paranormal, they were only interested in science. This was purposely done to make the research and anything found more credible. Sherman offered to stay on to manage the team. He knew the area well, plus his family were safe now, and he needed to know what was happening. The team moved into the ranch and began researching straight away. In the first year, they tested all water and plant life for any hallucinogenic properties and found nothing unusual. They did, however, see the lights. One morning, Terry and his assistant were tagging their cattle, when one of the calves that they just finished with was found dead, just meters away. It had been dissected and the ear was neatly removed. The research team were there in minutes and were dumbfounded. There was no blood found. They spread out to try and find whatever had done this, and noticed that every single guard dog they had were cowering in their shelters. That night, they saw a gigantic humanoid wolf-like creature in the trees. Many of the team witnessed this, and like before, it disappeared.
Be advised, Call 4 has control of the pursuit. Proceed with caution. 16 understand.
Another incident involved some prize bulls that were transported somehow into a small trailer that had been magnetized. And one afternoon, two of the scientists were on a ridge when they saw a large oblong orb that seemed to open. One of the team was able to observe it with an infrared camera, and he witnessed a humanoid creature emerge from it. Bigelow and his NIDS team, which stands for National Institute for Discovery Science, were on the ranch for a decade. After that time, they said that they had difficulty obtaining evidence consistent with scientific publication. In 2005, a book was released called Hunt for the Skinwalker, which was read by Defense Intelligence Agency official James Likotsky, who got permission to visit the ranch. While there, he saw something that motivated the Department of Defense to study the ranch at an estimated budget of $22 million. The ranch does have its skeptics. Author Robert Schaefer says any phenomenon is almost certainly illusory. He asks where the hard evidence is, and claims that the family who lived on the ranch before the Shermans say that they never saw anything unusual. On the other hand, so many people have reported seeing things so incredibly strange that is hard to ignore. The Skinwalker Ranch has produced many series, movies and books, and is guarded now, being quoted as the most well-researched paranormal place on the planet. The NIDS team felt that there was some higher force at play there, and occasionally they caught a glimpse of that, but whatever it was always one step ahead. That concludes tonight's story. I'll see you next time for more urban legends.